Ever have a problem getting into those hard to reach areas with a conventional broom? Sweeping under things or in corners proving to be extremely difficult? Is the weight of pushing dirt around the old-fashioned way breaking your back? Or maybe you're just sick and tired of doing things the hard way for hours and hours and hours. Well, it's time to break your old broomsticks. Introducing the Milwaukee M18 battery-operated blower.
Why you so salty? I'll still take a bite.
Me to actually do the review on this unit. So we're going to be talking about kind of some of the specs on this M18 Milwaukee cordless blower. But it's essentially a two-part unit. There's a little quick release here on the bottom. Push it up and the tube comes off. This is the innards. This is where you generate your air. This creates the volume of air that's coming out. On the back here is the air intake. This just goes in, snaps into place. So this is a tool in the Milwaukee cordless M18 series. This comes with it. So there's 300 plus solutions that Milwaukee offers on this same M18 battery pack system. M18 meaning this is an 18 volt DC power source. So here's kind of my thoughts on this unit. I know LaLa used this yesterday. I've used this a little bit, and here's the thing that impressed me was the air volume. It says in the manual about 450 cubic feet per minute of air. That's a decent air volume. Some of the other blowers that we've had in the past have been down in the 350 range. Rick's got a commercial backpack blower that's upwards of 600. So for a residential kind of everyday blower, 450 is a decent number. It's kind of right in the middle of a commercial and a purely residential unit. So that impressed me. Blowing with it, that impressed me as well. It got the job done very, very well, and it's a fairly light unit. This doesn't weigh a lot. I would say that the battery pack weighs more than the actual unit itself. So control wise, simple trigger activation here. There's a lock on this side, so you can press in the trigger, set the lock, and it will stay. To release the lock, just pull in the trigger, just like other devices, very, very similar to that. Simple two-position controller. There is a slow speed, which is the turtle, and a fast speed, which is the rabbit. And it's an electronic control, so this push button right here controls whether it's on slow or fast. That's really all the controls on this unit. Now, here's the thing that did not impress me, is when we got the unit, we plugged in the battery that came with it. Now I've got probably a half a dozen of these batteries because I've kind of committed myself to the Milwaukee line of cordless tools, that M18 series, probably 5 years ago, and have been accumulating various pieces within that system for that long. So I've got everything from drivers to hand circular saws to a band saw, lots of stuff, sanders. So when I saw this, I wanted something that LaLa could use in the barn without having to scrape and sweep every nook and cranny. And I thought that this would be a decent solution, and it's something that she could use using the existing battery packs that I already had in my system. So this The recommended battery with this is the XC 8.0 or the 8.0 amp hour battery. I've only got one of these prior to getting this system, so we went ahead and got the extra battery that came with the unit. This battery by itself is about $130. This by itself is about $160. So by far within this system, the battery packs is what you're paying for in large part. So most of their tools you can get without the battery, or they come without the battery, and then you have to buy the battery separately. These three batteries look the same. They aren't. This one is a 3 amp hour, this one is a 5 amp hour, and this one is an 8 amp hour. If I had to critique this unit on one thing, it's the amount of power that it consumes. So when we first got the unit, unpacked it, we plugged the 8.0 amp hour battery into the battery charger in the barn. So we didn't have an 8 amp hour battery that was fully charged. So we went ahead and pulled out the ones that were fully charged. Each of the ones, this is a 3 amp hour battery. This is the one that I use, say, for example, on a driver or something that doesn't draw a lot of amps, okay? It lasted about 15 minutes of constant blowing, which kind of let me down. I mean, that's not, I expected it to last longer, but again, I'm using a battery that's probably underrated for that piece of equipment anyway. So I came out this morning, pulled this off the charger. We haven't blown with this, but I would expect, you know, if you look at this from a linear point of view, and again, some of the mechanical or electrical engineers out there are going to say that doesn't work that way. I get that. Theoretically, a 3 amp hour battery is roughly a quarter of the runtime of a 12 amp hour battery. An 8 hour is going to be somewhere in the middle of that. So the manufacturer comes with this 8 amp hour battery. So that should last sufficient. I would estimate probably in the 45 to an hour range running on that battery. I run my circular saw on an 8 amp hour battery, and literally I can make 100-150 cuts with that battery before I have to change it out. It is a long lasting battery. So what do I mean by amp hour? An amp hour battery, and this is universal for any cordless battery system, an amp hour is the amount of current that will be able to be continuously delivered by that battery over the course of an hour. That's what an amp hour is. So view the amp hour of a battery as kind of the fuel tank, if you will, of that battery. The higher the amp hour, the longer that battery is going to be able to run. If you use a really high amp hour battery on a device that uses a small amount of current, it's going to last a long time. If you've got a device such as my Milwaukee bandsaw, takes a lot of power to go through wood with a bandsaw. If I use this 3 amp hour battery on that, I'm probably going to get 5-6 cuts. It doesn't last very long at all. I can plug in my 8 amp hour battery and it will last a long time. Kind of giving you kind of another example. This is an older cordless drill that I have. This is a Cobalt brand, and this battery is only 1.3 amp hour. And when I'm using this, I can kind of tell that because it doesn't have a ton of power. It's tough to drill a 3-inch screw into a post without it bogging down and just barely getting the job done. But when I plug my 3 amp, 5 amp, 6 amp, or 12 amp, or 8 amp batteries in from the Milwaukee brand, because they're higher amperage, they push that screw in a lot easier. So review on this blower. Use the higher amp battery. Other than that, I got no complaints on this unit. Cubic feet per minute that it blows, I view as superior. It's good, much better than our previous ones. It's light. It's relatively small. The discharge pipe on this is pretty short, which I like, which means I'm not hitting the floor when I'm blowing with it. All in all, I would say I'm really impressed with this unit. as I have been with most every one of the Milwaukee M18 series tools. Out of 5 years of buying that power system, the M18 Milwaukee system, I've only had one tool failure that was completely unrelated to the battery. It was the gearing in the unit itself that failed. One of my drivers, that's it. So there's my review of this Milwaukee cordless M18 blower.
Perfect. Keep going. Open it like Christmas morning.